we shall discuss viral hepatitis. And good morning, myself, Dr. Rahul Jain. These lectures are happening under the guidance of Dr. Sharda Jain. And when I talk about viral hepatitis, I mean to talk about the viruses which are causing inflammation of liver, and they are affecting specifically liver. So there are two types of viral hepatitis. One, hepatotropic viruses, and another are due to non-hepatotropic viruses. So hepatotropic viruses are the viruses which have specific affinity to hepatic cells. So these are my hepatitis A, B, C, D, E. While non-hepatotropic viruses are other viruses which can also cause hepatitis. So cytomegalovirus, Epstein-Barr virus, herpes simplex virus, then adenovirus, yellow fever virus, and even varicella zoster virus can cause hepatitis. So we will narrow down our discussion to hepatitis A, B, C, D, E, that is hepatotropic viruses. So what is important here to understand in this is that hepatitis A, B, C, D, E, all viruses are RNA viruses except hepatitis B, which is a DNA virus. So hepatitis B is a DNA virus and all rest are RNA virus. Then one more important thing is hepatitis A and hepatitis E they get transmitted by fecal-oral transmission. So fecal-oral transmission means that there is contamination of person who is infected of hepatitis A. The feces of that persons get contaminated with the food, and when next person consumes that food or water, and that person suffers from hepatitis A and E. So there's one more point here only I will highlight, that hepatitis A and E both are fecal-oral transmission and they both are self-limiting, except hepatitis E in pregnancy has a very high mortality. So hepatitis E is very specific for pregnancy. So any lady in pregnancy suffers from hepatitis E, the mortality rises. Then hepatitis B, C and D are basically through vertical percutaneous mucous membrane IV route and sexual contact, the transmission. So vertical route means that from mother to fetus. So during pregnancy, and the risk is majorly high during the chance of delivery and not during the when the child is inside, when the fetus is inside the mother. So the reason is when during delivery there is chance of blood to blood contact between the fetus and the mother. So their vertical transmissions are from mother to child, and then IV route and percutaneous mucous membrane is human bites or blood bag transmission, and sexual contact obviously because there is exchange of bodily fluids. Then in hepatitis B itself is not is very important entity because it is a major problem, and it gets co-infected with hepatitis B. So hepatitis B alone infections are not very important and common. It is majorly the co-infections and the infection associated with hepatitis B. So this much only about these things. That is, all the 5 viruses except hepatitis B are RNA virus. Hepatitis A and E are fecal-oral transmission. Others are basically parenteral, vertical and sexual contact. And hepatitis E has very high mortality in pregnancy. So, and hepatitis D exists as co-infection hepatitis B. So, coming on to the clinical features of viral hepatitis. So, first of all, they all have different incubation periods. Then the clinical features are in 3 phases, that is pre-icteric, icteric and recovery phase. So pre-icteric phases are 1 to 2 weeks, and they have constitutional symptoms. So constitutional symptoms means the symptoms which we have studied in the liver diseases. So my anorexia, nausea, vomiting, specific only fever, but there will be no jaundice because the name only says pre-icteric, that is before the onset of icterus. Icterus means jaundice. And then after pre-icteric phase, there is icteric, that is there is occurrence of jaundice. So there is dark urine, pale stool, icterus, enlargement of liver and pruritus. So why this pruritus? The bile salts are gets absorbed into the blood, and those bile salts goes to the skin and cause pruritus. And these bile salts can also cause bradycardia because they are cardiotoxic. And this is the same reason that acute fatty liver of pregnancy, the bile salts can cause fetal death because they are cardiotoxic. So they can go to the fetus and cause cardiotoxicity, and even in mother they can cause bradycardia. So pre-trick. So in case of viral hepatitis, the clinical features are pre-trick and ictric. Pre-trick are constitutional symptoms. So these are the symptoms which we have studied already in liver diseases. And ictric phase, there is jaundice, dark urine, pale stools, and pruritus. And bile salts are cardiotoxic. Then in recovery phase, all these symptoms go away and patient improves. So they are common to all the hepatitis A, B, C, D. Then we'll discuss more about each hepatitis some more in detail. So A, B, C, D will discuss. And last we'll finish the topic with hepatitis in pregnancy. So hepatitis A. So first of all, it is the most common cause of acute viral hepatitis in children. And hepatitis A is most common presentation is anictric. That is, they won't present with jaundice. Instead, they will present with dark urine, and they will present with cholestatic features like pale stools, but they won't present with jaundice commonly. So, and we already discussed that hepatitis A is fecal-oral transmission, and it is a RNA virus, and it is an acute self-limiting illness. There is no carrier stay. Incubation period is 30 days, and investigation is IgM HAV we will send. It will come positive, and there is vaccine available for more than 2 years of child, age more than 2 years. And the treatment is very simple. There is no specific treatment. We go for hospitalization, high calorie feeds, low protein diet, low fat diet. Vitamin K if PT is prolonged, then just symptomatic management, that is IV fluids, electrolytes, antiemetics, and pain management. So hepatitis is a very important disease, and there is no such specific management for hepatitis. As usual, it is just a symptomatic management, and patient recovers with hospitalization and rest.
Rahul, the doctor sitting next to me wants to ask, in summary, can you tell the treatment of hepatitis A again?
Yes, ma'am. So hepatitis A, again the treatment is, there is no specific treatment for hepatitis. There is no therapy which is directed towards hepatitis viruses. It's just hospitalization, rest, fluids, electrolytes, and small high calorie feeds, low protein diet, low fat diet. We give low fat diet and low protein diet because liver is in distress state, and we don't want to overburden the liver with more metabolites which get stressed. So we try to give low fat diet, low protein diet. And in case given if PT is prolonged, then there is IV fluids, electrolytes, antiemetics, and pain management. Because there is associated nausea and vomiting, we give antiemetics. To preventing dehydration, we give IV fluids. Right upper quadrant pain, then we give pain management, and we try to go for the drugs which do not get metabolized in the liver. Look, for example, NSAIDs and paracetamol are majorly get metabolized in liver. So we try to avoid the drugs which get metabolized in liver for the management of hepatitis. So I hope, ma'am, it is clear the treatment.
Yes, that is clear.
Then coming to hepatitis B, which is the most important topic, and this is to be focused on because this is something which we keep testing in our serology whenever the patient comes, because the risk of getting hepatitis B during a surgery or to healthcare workers is very high. If a patient is already having hepatitis B and we do not know about the status. So hepatitis B, the point which we have already discussed about hepatitis B, that hepatitis B is a DNA virus, and the transmission mode is possible through every possible mode. That is, it is vertical transmission, it is percutaneous transmission, IV drug abuse, and all those things. So hepatitis B, first of all, can cause acute infection and chronic infection. In hepatitis A, there was only acute infection, no chronic infection. So hepatitis B can cause both. Then chronic infections, we have already discussed, are the infections which persist more than 6 months, and acute which are less than 6 months. Then hepatitis B is the most common viral cause of chronic hepatitis. It is most common viral cause of hepatocellular carcinoma. So hepatitis B in long run will cause hepatocellular carcinoma, and it is the most common cause of carrier stage of chronic infection. Then incubation period is very long. Actually, it lasts from 30 days to 6 months, 1 month to 6 months, but mean period is 3 months, so 90 days. and it is having worse prognosis. Then, yes, so when we see the hepatitis B virus, it has three components. So one is hepatitis B SAG. So this is the outer core and outer surface antigen. So this S term in HBsAg is for surface.
Correct.
Then when we say HBcAg, this is for core. And when we say HBeAg, it is a replication marker. So before we go to the serology of hepatitis B, we have to understand each and every antigen very well. So studying about the HBsAg, so it is a surface antigen. So since something on the surface will stimulate our immune system first, so we will see anti-HBsAg also in our blood. And when we give vaccination to anyone, any person, that vaccine will never contain HBcAg, which is a core antigen. So any person with anti-HBcAg into the blood, which means the person has definitely been infected with hepatitis B in past. So HBcAg becomes the diagnostic marker because the vaccine will never contain HBcAg. So the person. So first of all, hepatitis B vaccine is always started immediately within the 24 hours after the birth. The standard national immunization guidelines say to vaccinate the child within the 24 hours of the birth, and then we keep giving booster doses and the regimen. So vaccine never contains HBcAg. So anti-HBcAg will never be present in the blood of a person who has been vaccinated, but it will only be presented to the person who has been infected. So if we want to be sure that person has been infected in past or currently present, the infection is present or not, HBcAg is a diagnostic marker. Then HBeAg is a replication marker, and again presence of HBeAg is not a good sign, which means the person is highly infected. So I hope the three antigens are clear.
Yes.
Then investigation when we are doing it is LFT and serology. Then serology first is HBsAg, which we have already discussed that it will be present. HBsAg will be present during the acute infection, and anti-HBs will be present even in case of vaccinated individual. So if we all are vaccinated, anti-HBs will be present in us also. Then HBeAg is not a good marker. It is not a good sign. It is a marker of viral replication. So people with a lot of HBeAg, which they are highly replicative and highly infective. Then anti-HB will be good marker, that is they are infected with they have infection with hepatitis B, but then it is not very effective because anti-HB is present. Then anti-HBc I've already discussed, it is the diagnostic marker, will only be present in the cases which have been infected in the past or present in the present also. Then vaccination available in the form of active and passive immunity. And the point which is very important is that active immunity is always given to the patient, and passive immunity is given whenever there is acute exposure. So acute exposure means in a healthcare worker gets exposed to any hepatitis B individual, then we give them immunoglobulins immediately to neutralize the infection. Then if a child is born to hepatitis B positive mother, in those cases, then active immunity we all receive in the form of vaccination. Then whenever I'm trying to treat hepatitis, are clearance of the DNA, normalization of enzymes, and trying to prevent the state of chronicity. So first of all, the treatment is on the same lines of symptomatic management similar to hepatitis B, and then there are some antivirals which are approved for very ill patients, that is tenofovir or anticavir. Then coming to chronic carrier state, then in chronic carrier state, it's not much of the treatment available, but then symptomatic management, and we give dilated alpha-2A interferon in the dose of 180 micrograms per week, and there are other antivirals available. And if the patient is clinically decompensated and there is cirrhosis, then the liver transplant is the only treatment. Yes. Then coming to hepatitis B, the hepatitis B can cause again both acute and chronic illness, and again the incubation period is 50 days, and it is the most common cause of cirrhosis. Then investigations are same as LFT and serology similar to hepatitis B. And we do HCV RNA for detection of hepatitis B. It is the most sensitive indicator. And for screening, we check anti-HCV. And there's no vaccine available for hepatitis C. So this is an important point. Then coming to treatment, again, the treatment is symptomatic, and we try to give treatment to avoid the progression to chronic state because it is the most common viral cause of cirrhosis, and so we don't want the person to go into cirrhosis. So we try to avoid the chronic state by keep giving pegylated interferons. But then these treatments are not very effective, and the therapy is supposed to be given for months together, and even the effect of the therapy is seen after almost 1 year. Continuous therapy, 48 weeks to 50 weeks.
तो बढ़िया वैक्सीन आ गया और हिंदुस्तान में सस्ता भी मिलने लग गया.
Vaccine is a that's why progress.
The drug.
Ma'am, they are available, but once the person is go for hepatitis B or hepatitis B, if the person becomes infective, then the management does not promise much of the treatment.
Okay.
The drugs are available, but then it's a lifelong battle.
Okay.
If it goes for the chronic state. Then I'll finish the last slide with hepatitis in pregnancy, and we'll discuss the more important things. So hepatitis E in pregnancy is associated with highest mortality, already discussed. Hepatitis B is the most common viral hepatitis in pregnancy. Then the hepatitis in pregnancy is associated with GDM, lower Agar scores, and preterm delivery. So the important thing I would like to add here is the GDM is because this hepatitis C is associated with insulin resistance. And preterm delivery is actually iatrogenic prematurity because we don't want the child to undergo cardiotoxicity. The bile salts will be cardiotoxic. And whenever I see jaundice in pregnancy, we have multiple differentials. So one will be cholestasis of pregnancy, one will be acute fatty liver of pregnancy, one will be hepatitis, then there will be HELLP syndrome. So I need to differentiate each and every one of them. So if it's acute fatty liver of pregnancy, then I need to immediately terminate the pregnancy because it might be fatal for the mother also.
Correct.
But we have multiple criteria for diagnosing each of them. In case of HELLP syndrome, there will be associated preeclampsia, eclampsia. There will be hemolysis, platelet counts will be low. Then all those things. Then the unconjugated bilirubin will rise. Then in case of cholestasis of pregnancy, there will be very mild symptom. AST, ALT will be around 70 to 80.
Very bad for as far as the baby is concerned. Undiagnosed are all because of hepatitis, this cholestatic jaundice.
Yes, majority of cases are cholestasis in pregnancy, and hepatitis as concerned, the AST, ALT will be very high, almost equivalent to 2000 international units per liter, and bilirubin will be in range of 5 to 20. So the treatment is moreover on the same lines. And for hepatitis E serology in pregnancy, we go for IgM HEV. And if a baby is born to hepatitis B positive mother, then immediately at birth, we give passive immunity in the form of hepatitis immunoglobulin 0.5 ml IM, and then we start hepatitis B vaccine within 12 hours. So this much only about hepatitis and viral hepatitis and hepatitis in pregnancy. And I hope you like the session.
बहुत ही बढ़िया. Okay. So I think what we will do tomorrow we will revise it for 10 minutes hepatitis treatment and liver function test.